Hi everybody. Today I go to my old religion about Zoroastrian. I am sorry about my language. I know my language is not very well. This is Mr. Sam is for me his father, his grandfather, his family man, and I know he's helping very different people. Kurdish, Turkish, Arabic, Indian, what every word, because he said, Zarathustra said, you have to like everybody, every nature. That's why I said, welcome, Mr. Sam, welcome with Mitani TV.
Thank you. My name is Sam, not Sam.
Not Sam.
It is from, if you see the Shahnama,
Yeah, Shahnama, yeah.
there is a hereditary which ends with Rustam, the Hercules of Iran.
Yeah, you're right.
And so on. But so it is Sam.
Rustam and Zal.
Well, Sam Nariman was my father, Sam was his son, Zal was Sam's son, my son. His son was Rustam, who is like the Hercules of Iran.
Okay.
And his son was Sohrab. And the tragedy is that the son and father didn't know they were son and father, and there was a war, and the son died. The father killed, without him knowing that his son was a person he was fighting with, because his wife didn't tell him that he had a son. She told him, you have a daughter, because she thought if I tell him it's a son, he will go away to the war. So she told him I had a daughter. So he didn't know he had a son.
I know about this. Actually, is area with Kurdish, Persian, and every area with Mesopotamia. They have Rustami Zal, and big hero. But for Kurdish people, for Iran people, I know for some Caucasus people too, because the many religions go to each other. But first religion is Zoroaster, and first coming and the word say God is the one, Ahura Mazda. What you can tell about?
Well, Zarathustra was a young man, and he was troubled with what was happening in the world, people making sacrifices to gods and, things like that. And he went into seclusion into Mount Davavan, and he contemplated.
Yes.
And when he came out, he said, look, what you are doing is not right. Gods, there is only one God. Exactly. He is a creator. And he is a wise man. That is why he gave the name Ahura Mazda. Mazda is wisdom, and Ahura is the omnipotence of the God. Before that, we had Roman gods, Greek gods, Iranian gods, Indian gods,
Every god, every
god. But they had no morals even. Okay.
Exactly.
They killed one another, they fought, so he said, no, there is only one God, and he doesn't want your sacrifices. He, I shouldn't say he also, because it's not man or woman, wants you to lead a good life.
Exactly.
Okay? And he was the first of the prophets that talked about life after death. He says the body, the human body, and there's a soul. The soul lives forever.
Yeah.
The human body dies and is the end of it, okay? And is taken by the two years of Sarosh and to the judgment bridge.
Judgment bridge, yeah.
Okay. And there, it depends what kind of life you lead. If you led a good life, there's a bridge is wide open. If you led a very bad life, the bridge is like a sword's edge.
But this is very interesting. Is after Zarathustra, the Muslim people have the same situation, Christian people have the same situation. Every religion have Amen, have as 3 or 5 times he pray, and I know is before is Zarathustra 5 times praying, after is just say 3 times is praying. This one is very close to each other, go to each other. But first, the water, the mount, the sun, coming is about Zarathustra.
Well, he said that the Creator, Avra Mazda, has given you all these creations, and you must respect all of them.
Exactly.
So when our priest prays at the Jashan, at the gathering, all the 5 elements of creation are there. There is water, there is milk red representing the animal kingdom, there are flowers, vegetation thing, the fire, So all, he said, and you have to protect all of Avra Mazda's creation.
Exactly.
And so he was the first environmentalist in going back, and we place him between 1500 BCE to 1750 BC, based on the language that he spoke, because there was not much written down, and he gave his religion in the form of songs, which we call the Gathas. And these songs are poetic, and the priests remembered them, the scholars remembered them, and it passed down till later on it was put in language, written language, okay?
Exactly, yeah.
But those are the authentic things from our prophet Zarathustra, okay? Lot has been added to it later on by priests and kings, etc.
Mr. Sam, I know you, but I know my community know about yourself. But before about yourself, I like who's the Zarathustra?
Zarathustrian are people that came from the west of the Caucasus Mountain in Europe. They were the Iranian tribes, like the Indo-Iranian tribes. There were European tribes. Those tribes that went to Europe were European tribes, and the Indo-Iranian tribes were the tribes that came into India and into Iran.
Why go to India?
And the major tribes that settled in Iran were the Persians and the Medes. Okay. And at a certain time, they combined in the time of King Cyrus or Khurush.
Yeah.
Khurush's wife was a Median princess of the Median king. And then they got together, and the 2 major tribes there are other 14 tribes, okay, but the major tribes were the Persians and the Medes.
Yeah.
Okay. And they combined and they formed what was Iran. Okay. So that is the origin. So we are from the Aryan race,
yeah,
but Iranian specific tribes which settled most in Iran. Okay. The other tribes were in Europe, and in India also has the Aryan tribes.
Afghanistan, and I know they go to
from
Kafka.
Yeah, during the time when the Iran was a large
population,
it stretched from the Indus Valley to the Egypt. Okay.
Go to Egypt?
Up to the Nile. People don't realize that the original Suez Canal was built by King Darius.
King Darius, yeah.
Yes, it was smaller, but he was the first canal from the Mediterranean,
yeah,
was built by King Darius, who also gave the postal system to the world. He had the people going with horses, carrying,
exactly,
yeah. From village to village.
Yeah.
That started the postal system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a large part of that time, okay? And so basically, Iran, you can say a large number is basically Persian and Medes. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
media, yeah.
Medes. There is also Baluchi tribe, you know.
Yeah, Balochistan and
Baluchi.
yeah.
Okay. But
Mab and Mab, I think.
pardon?
Mab and Mad. Yani the coming two important things. Mad and with Mad and with Persian too. Two Kurdish and Persian. They coming one kind of.
So you know, there are also, it goes right up to the east, even not the Indus Valley, but north, up to Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
Okay,
But first go to Afghanistan,
you know,
I think, no?
our very important prayer was found in excavation in Sodgan.
Yeah.
That is in China. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So it stretched out quite a bit. Okay. But people have, you know, it's ancient and people have different visions. Some people say he was born in Azerbaijan. Some people say he was born in other places. My understanding is he was born in Bakht, which is at the moment in Afghanistan. And then he preached, and the Magi at first opposed Zarathustra. Okay. But then they became his followers, and that is how the religion went from the east to the west.
What is the
Original language is Gothic.
Gothic.
Okay. And the present language, but it has gone through many languages, changes, okay, Old Persian, New Persian, etc. The present, of course, is Farsi. But the people that, after the fall of Iran to the Arab and the Islamization, people moved away, many of the people moved away. Exactly. They moved in different directions, but the ones that survived, really survived, were the ones that came to India. And they are called the Parsis. The Indians didn't say Persian, they said Parsis.
Parsis.
Okay. So that is about 1100 years ago they came on a boat, and they landed in a port called Sanjan.
Sanjan, yeah, I know Sanjan.
And the Indian king, the Hindu king Jagirana, according to legend, said, "Sorry, we don't have much land, you know." And
Sanjan around is Bombay, no?
No. The Bombay is Gujarat. Sanjan is north.
North,
north
yeah.
Bombay. So then the leader who came, he, according to the Indian custom, they bought a bowl of milk to a visitor. That is etiquette, you know, Indian custom. And he said he took off his ring. Or there are two stories. He put rock sugar, or he took off his ring. And he put it in the bowl of milk, the bowl was full of milk. But when he put the ring or the rock sugar in, it didn't spill. So he explained to the king that, look, we are very few people, even we have sweetened your milk or enriched your milk, but it has not spilled. And then conditions were put on us. They accepted us, and the conditions was that we will speak their language and not our Persian Farsi language, okay? Yeah. Because they were afraid, they didn't know what we were talking and discussing. Number two, we could not to push our religion on somebody, their religion. Our religious practices could be done only after sunset. Sunset meant in the old days there was no electricity, there was no lights, it was dark. So that we could not influence their people with our religion.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and the third, which is not quite sure, is that we would not eat cow's meat. Okay,
Yeah.
Beef. Okay.
Beef. Yeah.
And so we have preserved for a long time all of this. Okay. So if even today the Orthodox, the wedding will be done after sunset. You know, the Orthodox people.
Yeah.
People don't forget that this was something imposed on it. It's not part of the religion.
Exactly.
Okay.
Where does the Christian worship?
We worship in a temple.
Yeah.
And in the temple, Ahura Mazda is represented by light.
Exactly. Yeah.
In those days, there were no electric lights. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
And so the fire was light. And that we say, your mind has to be enlightened. So you go into a temple and Ahura Mazda is represented there with light. Okay? So that is why if you are outside and you will face the sun.
Yeah.
Because there is light.
Exactly.
Okay. You find many people in India going to the beaches at sunset, you know, and there's light or sunrise. So it is enlighten the mind, and because Ahura Mazda is the enlightened one, fire represents his presence, or I wouldn't say the presence of Ahura Mazda in the light of the fire that was burning. Okay. So that is our temple, and people think that we worship fire, which is absolutely wrong. Okay, we don't worship fire. We worship Ahura Mazda.
Exactly. Some people they have the very big mistake with exactly every Islamic country was said. He said the Zoroastrian people and prayed for fire.
Yeah.
This is so wrong. I know.
Fire is just to pray to something Ahura Mazda. We don't know what Ahura Mazda is. Okay, he's a creator.
Yeah.
Okay, he is represented in the temple with light, enlightenment.
Enlightenment, yeah.
Enlightenment means, you know, knowledge, you know.
We are don't like with dark.
Yes. So that is why the fire was burning there, and that is what is representing Ahura Mazda.
Exactly.
But we don't worship fire physically.
Yeah.
As such, okay? If I have a fire burning my house, I will take and put it down, you know, exactly, with water or even stamp on it.
Exactly.
All right?
Right, yeah.
But in the temple, that was the practice. And also, in the old days, it was in a central place. You did not have matches or anything. So when somebody wanted to light a fire for cooking or anything in their house, they went to the place, they lit their piece of wood and took it to their house and lit the other fire. So it was in a central place. And that is where Zarathustra probably started preaching as well. Okay.
I think that there's just fire, water,
yes,
land, and another one. Another one I have. This is 4 things is important for Zoroastrian, yes, not just fire. Yeah.
No. All. We respect all of creation.
Yeah. Sorry. All the 4 elements,
yes,
is very important for, yes, Zoroastrian.
It is wrong for us to pollute water. It is wrong for us to pollute the atmosphere. He was the first environmentalist, if you can put it that way.
Exactly.
He says you have to respect all of God's creation.
Yeah, all of them.
Just not the human beings. Okay?
For animals, for trees.
Yeah. Everything that Ahura Mazda has created is created out of wisdom, and you have to respect it and not abuse it.
What are the key sacred texts of Zoroastrianism? What is written in the book?
The most sacred, as I mentioned to you earlier, are the Gathas. The 5 Gathas that are from the Prophet because they were in poetic form and they have been preserved. There have been translations and there can be differences in the translation because the language, the Gothic language was between the scholars have put it between 1500 BC to 1750 BC. So that's over 4,000 years ago, okay? And that is, the translations can be different. One of the important, the Europeans have translated differently from their Aryan languages, and the Indians have done it from the Sanskrit language. The Sanskrit language preserves the grammar of the Indo-European languages, the Aryan language. And so many people think that is an authentic source to do the translation of our Gathas. Okay. After that, there are books on the, written, the Vandidad and the Buddhist, and the Buddhist was even after Iran became under the Arabic rule and became Islamic, okay. It was much later on, okay. And there is the Vandidad and there are other books as well, but we know that the original one is the Gathas from Zarathustra.
What holidays do Zoroastrians celebrate?
We celebrate, our New Year starts with the first day of spring, which we say Nowruz, or new life, okay, the first day of spring, and it's a vernal equinox. So even when we are outside Iran, we go by the time and the second, the minute and the second when we celebrate in our house Nowruz, okay, what happens in Iran, the time, okay. That is the most important. Our calendar consists of 12 months of 30 days each. Each day of the month has a name, okay. It is after an angel or an event or a description of nature, okay. And then there are 5 days which are what we call the time that we remember and our lost souls, our parents, our forefathers, our mothers, sisters, brothers, their souls come down to visit us and bless us. Okay, and that we call the Muktad days, the 5 days. Now, every 4 years, because it's 365 and a quarter day is the time period in Western time frame. So every 4th day, people add 1 more day to the 5 days. Okay, and so every 4th year, it is corrected, okay, on the calendar. But the celebration is done at the time of the actual vernal equinox. Okay, and that is the most important event that we have. Then we have other events. We have at least 5 times during the year which we call Gambars, which we celebrate. This is when people get together, meet, eat together, and get together. Okay, there are 5 different Gambars during the year. Okay, then we celebrate the death anniversary of Zarathustra, which is on the, putting it in the English calendar, it is the 26th of December. Okay. And
so
also
very close to Jesus' birth.
Jesus died on the birth was on 25th, and Zarathustra death is celebrated on the 26th. Okay, the 25th has a different meaning. In that time, it was the sun god, Sol. Okay, that was. Many Christians believe that actually Christ's birthday is somewhere in January. Okay, but that is the thing, and so. And then we have other events, Yalda, which is the longest, the new day started getting longer. So those are customs, that we celebrate, okay. Basically, that is the thing. Now, we have different calendars in the community. The Irani Zarathustri or Zoroastrians, they follow the Iranian kingdom itself, Islamic kingdom, also follows our calendar. That is more what we call the Fasli calendar, or the one which corrects after every 4 years, adds the 1 day. Okay. The people that came to India forgot, because in the old days, after 400 years, they used to add a month after 120 years. They forgot to add the month. Okay. But then later on, people became wiser and they added every 4th year 1 extra day. Okay. So there is that difference, and we call it, and usually the year starts with the beginning of the new king. That's why the Parsi calendar is called Shahanshah, the Shah, you know. So every time the ruler changed, that was the first day. The last Zoroastrian ruler of Iran was Yazdagar. So it is there, that is the day we call, you know, the beginning, and that has never changed because there has been no king after that.
What is the difference between Zoroastrianism and other religions today?
I would say that, you know, we always try to find differences. I belong to the interfaith community. I am on the board of the Canadian Multi-Faith Federation. I am on the board of the Toronto Area Interfaith Council, and we believe in interfaith. Okay. If you look at the essentials of all these religions, they are talking of morals. They have got from their prophet, or from the wisdom of their prophet. Okay? So I would not say there is a difference, there is difference. Like, and you know, one thing good about the Zoroastrian thing is, our prophet says, it is progressive. The prophet said from the beginning of time, there were the 2 menus, the 2 mindsets. Spenta Mainyu and Angra Mainyu. Spenta Mainyu is the good, but also the progressive spirit, okay, attribute of God. Angre Mainyu, which comes from the Aryan word anger, okay, is a negative spirit. We say, is explained by one of the translators as life and not life. So Spenta Mainyu is life and Angre Mainyu is not life. Okay. So that people have considered Zoroastrianism as a dual thing, good and evil. Okay. Okay, and it comes from this particular thing from the Gathas, where he says from the beginning of time there's the 2 attitudes or 2 menus, Spenta Mainyu and Angra Mainyu. Okay, and that would be, we are monotheistic. We only believe in one God, Auramasta. Okay, and there is no dualism. Okay, in Zarathustra's preaching, he says, don't make sacrifices of people and gold and things. God or Auramasta wants you to lead a good life. And there is one difference. If you did something wrong, you cannot wipe it out by doing penance or a priest helping you to remove that. It stays with you. But to overcome that, you do more good. So in the final judgment, the good exceeds the evil or bad things that you have done. That is another concept. Okay. And as I said, the concept which has come down to others also is that the human being consists of a soul and a physical body. The body perishes at death, but the soul lives on, and we believe that eventually the world will be perfect and all evil will go away. And that day we call Fereshokerti. Fresh means, you know, from the Aryan word fresh, Fereshokerti. When everything is good, And there is no sickness, there is no evil, there is no death, it is perfect. Okay. So those concepts have also been taken up by religions that follow Zoroastrian religion. Okay. And but those originated from the prophet Zarathustra. And it is considered an ethical religion because Nietzsche, the German philosopher, when he wrote his thing, he said his book title was Thus Spake Zarathustra. And we were astonished because there is nothing about our religion in that. But so after he died, his sister was asked that why did your brother name this book Thus Spake Zarathustra? Because he said he considered him to be the most ethical of the prophets. There were no miracles. It was ethical. Okay. Being truthful, being good, being looking after. And one of our main prayers, the Atharvavedya prayers, talks of three things, starting with, wisdom, Asha, the good life, the proper life, and Asha is very all-consuming. And the third one is to help those in need. It doesn't mean that you have to help only your people or your community or your religion. It says anyone that needs help. And those were the three things that Zarathustrian follows, because that are the three edicts from the prophet.
Who is the Zoroastrian prophet, and can you tell us what kind of a man he was?
He was a normal human being, mother, father. They say that his mother was a very strong influence in his life, and it is said that he came from the priest class. Okay, there used to be caste system also in the Aryans. Okay, the only two Aryan country recognized it were the Iranian Aryans and the Indian Aryans. We didn't have a non-touchable or untouchable class. We had five, which went like the king people, the warrior people, the priests, the business people, the agriculture, the farmers. Those were the things. Okay. And so it is today everything is gone except the priest class is separate. And only the son of a priest can become a priest. Okay. Now, if the priest has sons and they don't become priests after 2 generations, the new person, the descendant cannot be a priest. We are changing that slowly. In North America, we have even what we call para-morbid. Morbid is like the name of a priest, okay, in the old Gothic. And we have women priests. Okay, and they perform certain ceremonies, etc. Not all of them. Hopefully at some time they can perform all of them, but change takes place gradually. If you force a change, it creates disunity and disruption in the community. So you let time evolve those changes. Okay.
How many Zoroastrians are there in Canada, worldwide, and how active are they following their religion?
There are, I would say, roughly 100,000 Zoroastrians in the world. Only. There are 60 to 70,000. The largest numbers are in India. And most of them are concentrated in the city of Bombay and the surrounding cities because of business reasons, etc. And most of their temples, etc. are there. There are about 10 to 12,000 in Iran. We are not sure. That number has been gradually reducing as people are moving out. Okay. Those are the two large centers. The other center, I would say, is North America. Previously, it used to be England because a lot of people from India went to England because it was under the British rule. Okay. So now in Canada we have about about between 6 and 7,000. 5,000 are in the Greater Toronto area, okay, or you would say Ontario, okay, mostly concentrated in Toronto, Mississauga, Peel County, and then pockets in Ottawa, in London, Ontario, and other Kingston, etc. The other large concentration is in Vancouver, in BC. And most of the Iranian Zartustis have gone to British Columbia, to Vancouver, and they form 50% of the Zoroastrians in British Columbia. The other 50 are Zoroastrians from India that went there. In America, there are about 15,000. Okay. And the biggest concentrations are New York and California, Los Angeles area, San Diego area. The largest number are there. Okay. But New York is also a big center, and they are in big centers like Houston and other cities as well, And as the immigration, the diaspora spread from India, they came in and they are there. Okay, so very often you find, like Chicago has a temple. Okay, there is a community there in Illinois. Okay, California has 2 or 3 temples. Okay, Canada has 2 temples, one in Vancouver, one in Toronto. 3, 2 in Ontario, one in Peel region and one in the city of Toronto. Okay. And then we have a small number in Hong Kong. They are the richest Zoroastrians. They were the original Indo-China traders during the British time. And they were in Shanghai also, but the Shanghai part is gone after communism started there. But Hong Kong was under British rule, and so it survived there. There are only 200 of them. But they are wealthy people from the old Indo-Iranian traders. And they do a lot of charity worldwide to all the Zoroastrian communities as well. Okay. And then we have pockets in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, East Africa, many places there. These were the people that went there when the British rule was there, and they went as traders or they went as people working in offices or in the government, okay, and then settled there. And we also have now pockets coming up. We have a temple in Moscow. We have in Tajikistan, where the president of Tajikistan got UNESCO to celebrate the 3,000th anniversary of Zarathustra. And we celebrated all over the world. In Ontario, we celebrated that in Markham Theatre and the Royal Ontario Museum. And they were celebrated all over the world. And so we have pockets in Kyrgyzstan, in Tajikistan, in Azerbaijan has a small community as well. And Germany has a community. There's a small community in France, around Paris, okay. And in England, there is, I think, now about 3,000 or so, 3,000 to 4,000.
So you could say Zoroastrians are very active.
Yeah, so they are all over, but in small numbers. The big numbers are still in India and in Iran.
Mr. Sam, any Zoroastrian classes have any school or university?
Yes, they are in India, of course, where the large population. There are there also in Iran. But in the other parts of the world, the oldest one, I would say, is the one in London, London University in England. There is a section of the university which is for Oriental and Asiatic Studies, and there was a she is dead now, Mary Boyce. She was in charge of that. Now it is a lady called Hinze, and more money was given to the university to do research and studies, and there are two other scholars there also. In the United States, in North America, there was nothing. There was originally in Columbia University.
Columbia University.
Yes,
Yeah.
they had a section and for Zoroastrian studies, and they also have in California. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now we are starting. They had undergraduate studies in Toronto University.
Oh, Toronto University started too.
They had already started some years ago.
Oh, that's
Maybe 10,
great.
12 years ago, we started it. It is in the Mississauga campus.
Mississauga campus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have undergraduate studies
Yeah.
for Zoroastrianism. And now we have, together with the university, created another a professorship. And they have just advertised for the professorship. We were collecting funds for that. We had to give certain funds, and the university was putting in certain funds. Okay, so that has started. So once the professor is appointed, that's a lifetime endowment.
I think you started scholarship for students too.
Okay,
For the
what we have, scholarships are always there because we always believed in helping our people to progress, you know. And so the scholarships were there from Iran, from India, and we started it also in North America. So we have scholarships that is regulated. It's the selection, everything is run by the Federation of Zoroastrian Societies of North America, called FAZANA.
Yeah, Fazana,
Okay.
I know Fazana.
And we all from associations have given scholarships for Zoroastrian students, okay, to help Zoroastrian students with, because, you know, in America it's quite expensive education.
Really expensive.
Even in Canada, much less because it's subsidized a lot by the government, but still we have scholarships.
That's good.
And then we have scholarships in Hong Kong, we have scholarships in Singapore, we have scholarships in Australia, New Zealand. I don't know about Africa. Okay. But these are the places.
Thank you so much. Every community, every humanity, if you don't know anything, you have to learn. Now I try learn about Zarathustra, and that's why I hope so I can make it many interviews with about Zoroastrian people and Zoroastrian history. Thank you so much, Mr. Sam. Exactly, I can say again, Mr. Sam is my best friend. He's maybe not long time, not 20 years, not 10 years, but almost maybe 6 months, 1 years I meet him. But he's very friendly. Anytime I come his house, his open house, not just house, his open heart, not just for me, for every people. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to add, sir?
You know, I want to make one thing very clear. I am not a Zoroastrian scholar or Zarathustri scholar. I have interest in my religion because I love it and I respect it and I am blessed with it. I'm born in it. And whatever I've said to you is general knowledge of the religion. I am not a scholar, and I want that to be understood. But we have 3 things that we have. When people talk of Zoroastrianism, they talk of good thoughts, good deeds, good words. In the old language, it's Manashni, Gavashni, Kunashni, or the latter language, you know, Humata, Hukta, Haurashta. So those impressed me as a child, as a young man. And I said, And I speak to my friends, and he said, Sam, what is left out? If you have good thoughts, good deeds, good words and good deeds, there's nothing left. I said, that's right. So I will end my discussion on this thing with those words. Manashni, Gavashni, Kunashni, Mata Ukta Havrishta.
That's perfect. Thank you.